Alrighty, as you can see, we're back on to doing some fabric work. This is one of the lower ailerons. This piece of fabric here has been glued on about that much around the front. It comes down here, it's been glued on the sides. It comes around and it's also glued along the trailing edge piece here. The next exciting episode will be to glue here, glue a new piece of fabric on there. This is the light grade of fabric too, by the way. It'll come about here somewhere. I've been trying to work out exactly where I want it to, I want the fabric to start. I'll bring you around a little bit. I'm looking, I've got a few choices. It really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter too much. I can line it up along this line here, along this, this edge. But I've got this row of rivets, and it's likely, and it's close. It'll be close to the edge of the fabric, so it's likely to make the fabric want to pop up, sit up, not sit down properly. But if I put it here, if I put the pinked edge of the fabric along here next to the rivets, I think the fabric will sit down a lot nicer. I'll glue that all the way along. It'll have at least that much overlap on the fabric that's already installed. So I think that's probably what I'll do. I'll go ahead and glue that on. Then bring it right the way around, underneath, up, and if you can see that, glue it along this trailing edge piece. I've started, so there's overlap on the lower fabric. It'll come around here, more or less like that. Yeah, it's you can pull it down reasonably tight, reasonably taut, and it will come right the way around here, and it'll get glued along this trailing edge like that. Okay. Now, once I've finished, it'll still look like an unmade bed, but you hit it with the iron, and beautiful. It shrinks up, piece of cake, absolutely beautiful. So my next step will be to make sure that actually I turn it around where it's a bit easier for me to work on. But yeah, the next step will be to get this pegged down nice and neat. Pull as many of the crinkles out as I can just by doing this. I'm pulling this way on the fabric that goes under there, and this one, work my way along, and this one. That leading edge is reasonable. A little bit slack here. Pull it up a bit more. Yep, like that. Now what I'll probably do is just put a little bit of tape. Start in the middle. Put a little piece of tape here and along this rib, and that will hold it tight. I've got a few more pieces of tape here that I use for another purpose. We'll pull them off, put them here as well. There, like that. This one.
That was a torch. from the middle. Pull that up. Oh, that's not very good. We've got a big bulge here. Pull it up. And with this one, you probably can't see this one, maybe you can. Pull that up there. Another couple down the other end.
Not too bad. Yeah. Not perfect, but not too bad. Okay, what we're going to do is a little bit of gluing with our Eco Bond, yeah, which it's really, really good. Once it goes off, it sticks like crazy. Now something it doesn't stick to quite as well are these simple paintbrushes. These are really cheap ones. They're like $1.50 or something. They're negligible. You can use a $10 brush if you want to. It's not going to give you $10 worth of benefit, put it that way. Whereas these things, it doesn't matter, you can throw them away. If you wash them out straight away, the glue doesn't actually stick to the bristles, so you can use it again tomorrow. Crazy. These jiggers are a simple paper cup, 2 paper cups in fact. One cut off and glued to a paper plate. The other one's just a simple paper cup. Sits in there like that. You can put it on the desk. It won't, on the bench, it won't tip over. Let's have a look here. Yeah, it's stable. You can sit it and it won't tip over. You've got a place to collect the drips when you take your paintbrush out. So yeah, it's for 20 cents, it's a very good thing. You can just use the paper cup if you want to, but then if you spill it, hey, that's your problem, all right? This thing works a treat and costs virtually nothing. We'll put a little bit of our glue in here, probably about that much. Did you see that? Yep, you did. And it's next to no glue, almost none. Very little in that cup. And what we might do is start here in the middle somewhere. I use just paper. It's a paper towel-y type thing. Mine comes on a roll, maybe whatever it is. I don't know, 18 inches, 2 feet wide, something like that. And I cut it up into squares like this. But the objective here is we want this glue to penetrate this fabric and into the fabric below, like this. Yeah, we're going to overlap the pinking a little bit and come out here onto the free fabric. This is a bit awkward. I'm going to have to do it the way I was demonstrating. But we put a few inches on here, and it depends on the weather too as to how quickly it goes off. This, it's not Okay, I'm in a short-sleeved t-shirt or shirt, so it's not cold, but cold weather it's going to take longer to go off. But we put it there. We get our bit of fabric, which I folded up, and we rub it fairly hard. So what we're doing is we're rubbing it through the pores of this fabric, or through the weave, I should say, and into the weave of the fabric below. And when this glue goes off, I can pretty much guarantee you're not going to separate them. This glue sticks like crazy. You're more likely to tear the fabric. It'll stick seriously well. What we're looking for is a colour. This light green colour means that we've wiped off most of the excess glue. We don't want a nice dark green glue on there. It means that there's too much glue. It's a feel thing, and you will get used to it, and you will make mistakes, but you just do it again. And there we go, that's one panel. Now later on, I'm trying not to go over the paper tape, the masking tape. It just makes it harder to peel off. Matter of fact, it makes it almost not impossible, but very difficult to peel off. And you don't need that. It's easier just to stay away from the tape in the first place. Now as I'm wiping here, I'm wiping in that direction. So I'm pulling the fabric on the bottom there, it comes around and up and over. So by wiping this way, I'm actually pulling the fabric tight underneath. Every little tiny bit helps. But there you go. That's it. And then just work your way on to the next bar. I'll do this one here next. Now later on this afternoon, I'll just peel these tapes off and do those little patches that I've missed. And then this carry on, we'll do that tomorrow. Here's something I'd like you to see here. This piece of fabric is a bit bunched up. If I try to glue that down, it's going to have puckers in it all over the place. So what we can do in this instance is we can just get out of the way of the camera. We can actually, I've got this little iron, we can actually iron it down a little bit. Now I'm just touching it, and as I touch it, it shrinks. And I'm particularly shrinking it along here. And now I can shrink down along the back here a little bit. Look at that. That shrunk down quite nicely, and it's sitting down quite well. So now all I have to do is get the little bit of glue, and I can glue that back down. The others will probably be similar. This is where the tape was, remember? So I can come here somewhere. This one is probably it's not as bad, but similar. We can just shrink him a little bit. Yeah, There we go. And he'll come down and sit down nicely. Beautiful. There we go. Now I can glue that down. All right, we're about to move on to the most satisfying part of the whole covering process. This is my iron for ironing clothes. My infrared thermometer here. This is about the hottest part of the iron right there. This is cooler and the tip is cooler. So right about there somewhere. It doesn't control very well, this particular iron. We'll see if you can see that. Right there, I'm aiming for 250 and we've got 270 and dropping. Yeah, it'll drop back to about 240. So it controls over a fairly wide range. That 270 was probably about as high as it wants to go. So you've got about a 30-degree temperature range. Okay, I can sort of live with that. Yeah, I just, at this point in time, I don't really want to get it too hot. But, yeah, we do the first shrink here. We do the first shrink to 250, which will, you know, so be somewhere between 240 and 270. Obviously, we don't want the iron to sit in one particular spot for too long. We don't want to burn it. We're going to do these two panels first, this one and this one. If you have a look, this aileron is glued all around the perimeter, all the way down along the leading edge here, all the way along the trailing edge here, but not on the ribs. The ribs are not glued down in any way. Okay, so it's the two ends are glued and the perimeter. All right, as I said earlier, we'll start with these two panels and then work our way out that one, that one, that one, that one. This, like I said, is the most satisfying part of the whole process. So we've sort of got the iron about as good as we're going to get it. I'd already marked this, if you can see that, 250, 300 and 350. They're the three temperature targets. This is just a tiny bit over the 250, about there. It was a little bit warm, but let's see. Yeah, we've still got the unmade bed thing happening, but we just give it a very, very gentle rub. Like I say, we try not to stop. Try not to sit the iron in one place and burn it. That would probably be bad. It shouldn't burn too much because we've got the iron. This, I think this stuff melts at about 400 degrees. Those two panels are coming up nice and firm. We need to do this before we actually rivet the fabric onto the structure. Get it all shrunk and into its happy spot, and then rivet the fabric down. Now I don't know whether you can see that. This area looks like the unmade bed thing. Look at that. And we'll just whiz it up. Can you see that pulling out? It's just perfect. This one. Yeah. they're looking pretty good. We'll go over here, we can move out to the next outboard ones, this one and this one. You probably can't see that one, but anyway, this one. And this one. All right, we're in the home stretch now. The next job we have to do is to, well, we want to rivet the fabric to the structure. We use this reinforcing tape to help spread the load across the fabric. It's got a sticky back. It's self-adhesive thing. We need to stick pieces from about there to there, and then put three rivets in. There's a rivet, 3 rivet holes, and this. What I've found, and we could just stick that on there now, then you've got to try and find the hole, which is a bit tricky, but it's pretty obvious right there, right now. But what we can do is we can shine a light underneath, and the holes stand out quite well, can be. Once you've stuck the reinforcing tape over the top. Yeah, it's not quite as easy to see up through the holes. What I've found is I took my trusty soldering iron, right here somewhere, I'll put it where you can see it, sharpened it to a point, and I punch a hole through the fabric, which I can do right now, no problem at all. Yeah, so these 3 holes, for instance, it's very quick, just doink, doink, doink. You don't dwell. If you dwell on it, the hole will grow bigger and bigger and bigger. This thing's hot, no question. But that's how I did it anyway. You can, if you're punching through, you can easily get a big hole without trying. This stuff melts really, really well. Yeah, so very, very quick. Then, I'll leave that there. Then when you put the tape on, the reinforcing tape, once it goes on, you're actually only looking through the thickness of the reinforcing tape, and it's much easier to see the hole. That's all I was trying to demonstrate. I'll go ahead and do these, whatever it is, 7 ribs, 3 holes per rib, turn it over, do the other side. I'll come back and do the reinforcing tape tomorrow. Okay, we've got our fabric attached. It's attached all around the perimeter. The next step is to put the reinforcing tapes on. What I'll do is, this is where the reinforcing tape's going to go, along the edge of this rib. So we'll paint some glue down there, and this is obviously going to try and glue the fabric to the rib. Okay, that's why we stretched the fabric and everything else. We shrunk the fabric and everything else. So it's not going to try and move when we, if we'd have done it the other way around and attached the fabric to the rib and then tried to shrink it, we would have wound up with 9 grades of problems. So I'll put some glue on. Now I'm going to wipe the glue back off again, or not back off, but I'm going to wipe it through the fabric and into the rib. So yeah, we're getting the excess glue out of the way. The Eco Bond. Now that will attach the fabric to the rib. There we go, that's pretty good. Now, we need some reinforcing tape. And the reinforcing tape, I want to run it from, if you can see a rivet just there, I want to run it from just down below the rivet, down to about where the tape overlap comes. So about from there to there. That'll be right, my pencil's up the other end. So I want to come from about there to, the objective here is to get them pretty much all the same to about there. Yeah, that's about where I want the tape to run. Now this tape with the self-adhesive backing actually glues to the green glue really, really well, really well. Much better than it would glue just to the fabric itself. Yeah, it attaches extremely well. So now I'm going to run down here more or less so that the rivets are in the middle of this reinforcing tape. The reinforcing tape, as I explained before, just spreads the load. It just spreads the load from the rivet heads, of which there are 3. So just below that rivet, I'm watching the edge of the edge of the rib here, so I'm keeping just off the edge. Yeah, it'll depend, obviously, what shape rib you're lining up on and all the rest of it. But that's about where it works for me. That's more or less straight. Kicks off a little bit at the end. There'll be too many other things to look at when the aeroplane's finished. Righto. Now, having applied that, we punch, oopsie, we'll punch some holes through the fabric. Well, actually, the holes are already punched through the fabric. If you can see this one, yep, you can't. If you can see this one here, there's 1, 2, 3. Those holes are already punched through the fabric, but they're not punched here. They're not, if you can still see this one, they're not punched through the reinforcing tape. These are the rivets I'll be using. They're a fairly big-headed aluminium rivet. They weigh almost nothing. They're a bit of a pain to pull. My rivet pliers are not real keen on pulling them up. But anyway, we'll get there. I know we will. We've done it before. So, get our trusty soldering iron. We're going to punch some holes. I can see that one. Where's my light, which is still turned on, which is good. Okay, can you see? There's our hole. This one. There's our hole. This one. There's our hole. Okay, so we've got our 3 holes. This is just how I do it. This is not necessarily the accepted way of doing it or anything else. It's just my way of doing it. You please yourself how you do it. Now I paint the glue on and take it right to the end. I don't want the frayed bits at the end of the cut tape to unravel. Bit in the middle, same down this end. take it all the way to the end of the tape. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I'm trying to do. Now I'll put the rip. Normally we would wipe that excess off. At the moment, I don't. I'll put the rivets in next. There, there, and there. Then, once I pull these rivets up, then I'll wipe the excess off. I'll show you what I mean about the pliers not being too keen on pulling the rivets up. That's pulling fine, no problem. Oh, there we go. I'm sort of concerned about rivet tails, so I tend to try and keep them so they don't go rolling around the floor and wind up puncturing a tyre somewhere. And there's our 3 rivets, almost done. There we go. Then wipe the excess off. This time I'll wipe in that direction because I don't want to peel the reinforcing tape back. Yeah. The middle one doesn't matter. Which way you wipe it, it's pretty well nailed down. And this one I'll wipe towards me, just to get the excess off. Now there is a little bit of excess, there will be a little bit of excess underneath each of the rivet heads, and that's okay, I can live with that. Okay, it's a little bit of extra weight, I can live with it. In the scheme of things, it's very, very little. There we go. Now, obviously the next step is to put the tape, which will go, it'll start back about here somewhere, go over the reinforcing tape and the rivets, and wind up down on the side of the aileron somewhere. But that's it. I'll go ahead and do these others. And yeah, I'll bring it back if anything exciting happens. Well, there we are. We've got all the all the tapes, all the reinforcing tapes on, all the rivets in. The first shrink has been done. That looks pretty good. The underside is the same. It's complete as well. There we go. So now this one can be put away. Obviously I've still got to put the tapes on, which cover these things. There'll be tapes coming along to cover here and cover here at the leading edge. But no, it's complete for now until I catch up with the other one. The other one hasn't had any tapes, any reinforcing tapes put on yet. Yeah, so, and it hasn't been shrunk, it still looks like the unmade bed, but it'll get there. I'll get that done this afternoon. That's another job out of the way. Well, I think we might wind up the video here. I think we've done it to death, so yeah, catch up with you next week.